All right, hi, I'm Hallie Lieberman. I just finished my Ph.D. at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the history of sex toys. I was in journalism and mass comm. I'm here as a Zwickler Fellow to study more about the history of sex toys. I was focused on the Dell Williams collection. She founded the first feminist sex toy store in the US, actually the first women's owned sex toy store. I just interviewed her in New York. She's 92, still feisty and talking about her orgasms. It was amazing. And I would like to read a letter from someone, a customer, one of her early customers. So the store was founded in 1974. It was mainly mail order, but had a showroom. So people ordered from all around the country. I want to read a letter from one of the customers who was very satisfied and with her vibrator that she bought at the store. This is from 1976, and back then you could not get a sex toy like at your local store. You would, if you wanted something called a sex toy, you would have to go to the seedy men's sex shop full of like pornography with split beaver shots and like leering men and sticky t-shirts with stains on them. I'm actually imagining my own experience more recently, but it was probably worse back then. And so it was a very uncomfortable environment. So to have a feminist sex toy store was a really big deal. So anyway, here's the letter. And it is from May 25th, 1976. Dear Dell, I just finished masturbating with my Prelude 2, and as I did, I said, I love you, Dell. This is how I feel about all my sisters, including Betty Dodson, who are positively helping the rest of us. I am 40 and left my husband of 20 years recently. I might add, I left him after I started masturbating to orgasm for the first time in my life. No one can tell me about a repressed past. I was very healthy sexually until about 9 or 10 years of age. Then my family, the church, and society really did their job on me. I remember thinking when I married that my husband would turn a magic key and all my sexuality would be reborn. My family would not condemn it, neither would the church or society. It would be acceptable. After I married, I waited and waited and waited, but my husband was, in his way, as repressed as I. In short, I eventually became bitter about him, my role in marriage, and the whole world in general. Keeping a spotless house and doing all the expected and proper things simply didn't cut it. Something was ghastly, horribly wrong. I finally saw an analyst who helped me to keep my sanity until I started masturbating to orgasm and a new life began. I feel better and look better than I did when I was first married. My body functions so beautifully. I've had a lot of overtures from men, but I'm determined that I will never have another man if he doesn't love and desire good sex the way I do. The literature I buy and the knowledge I'm gaining, I share with other open-minded women. I hope in my lifetime to see a radical change in the woman's position. I hope and pray we can all rise up and take our rightful place in the world. Sincerely, anonymous customer. And should I read Dell's? Okay. So, she wrote this to Dell Williams, 1976. Dell Williams liked to respond individually to all her customers, especially ones who wrote them these letters. Here's the letter from Dell, June 1st, 1976. Enclosed is another joy button, and I am sure this will fit better. Thank you so much for your sharing letter and what you say has been and still is so true for so many women. If I'm doing a little bit to change all this, I am happy. And I appreciate your acknowledgement, and I want to thank you from the bottom of being. Yes, I would like to handle pornography, but it has to have some beauty and style, and I haven't discovered it yet because it hasn't been produced as yet that I know of. But I'm sure women will begin to create it, and Eve's Garden will have it. Do you have the catalog where we offered Sappho, The Art of Loving Women? We took it out of a subsequent catalog because some women thought it was too commercial, but I'm going to put it back in. I think it is a turn-on, although it is expensive, $25. Anyway, we shall be on the lookout for good, non-sexist porn. So happy to hear that you are in command of your own body. What else is there, and who else do we have but ourselves? Right on, sister. Dell.
Great. So do you want to talk about how you're going to use this in your research?
Yeah.
And what it means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So just right now?
Sure.
All right, so this is really important for my research because I have not, throughout, my research starts in the early 1800s. And I'm studying vibrators and dildos, but I have no records of what customers did with them, what individuals did with them, what these sex toys meant to them. Very few people keep records of their masturbation. Even today, I'm one of the few people who does, but that's a very rare occurrence. So back then, no one was saving them. In fact, it was illegal to sell sex toys and was illegal until recently in about 8 states, until about 2008. So to have this correspondence that is not from the 21st century, that is actually from the 1970s, during this period of women's liberation, to have correspondence and individual experiences of how people masturbated with sex toys, how sex toys made a difference in their lives, is unbelievable. Because, you know, one of the criticisms when you study sex toys is that it's frivolous and sex toys aren't important and haha, it's a vibrator, it's not important. But when you read this literature in here, like this woman whose life was changed from having an orgasm with a vibrator, or other women in here who said, my marriage was saved because I used this vibrator, I finally had orgasms with my husband. It really personalizes it, and it makes you see how important sex toys can be to people's lives. And yes, they're funny, they always will be, but they also seriously change people's lives. And this letter, especially tells this woman's history, tells her story of repression to liberation, and how the vibrator played a role in that, and how this feminist sex toy store played a role. And if there hadn't been this feminist sex toy store, she may not have ever been brave enough to get a vibrator. She probably wouldn't have entered a men's oriented sex toy store. She probably would have never purchased this, and her life might have been so different. She may never have had an orgasm. She may have stayed unhappily married. So it just shows how much of a difference sex toys can have on people's lives.
Thank you.
You're welcome.